Testing, testing, testing. Alright, Chapter 9, Managing Your Hard Disk. Overview. Hard disk is former to have the be with data than floppy disk. The MS task you use it much more with quickly. You remove the hard disk permanently fixed with the drive of the floppy disk. Hard disk stores data with the tracks and sectors unlike floppy disk. However, the hard disk stores data is magnetically coated, rigid metal, not plastic disk, then enclosed into a non-removable case. Typical hard disk containing the two or more separate disks that give it the total storage of 250 to 500 megabyte with a hard disk can be even higher capacity with it becoming common in several computers offer a hard disk that can hold 1,224 megabytes or more. The chapter focuses on use the higher hard disk efficiently. Managing a hard disk requires more thoughtful planning. Managing a floppy disk simply because of the number of files involved. But properly organized, manage your hard disk can be an effective tool to minimize the use of fuss and the one task is the most important than the other. Managing hard disk efficiently, one with the setting of the following setting list to take advantage of the disk capacity without losing track of all the file. The chapter shows how to plan a structure, use the commands of the create the structure. The author takes other tasks and backing up the files periodically, both protect the data and vent with the hard disk. Permanently erase or damage clear out with the old file that no longer used regularly. Topic of the backing up of the cover. The next chapter protecting your disk and files. Previous chapter covered the setup of all using multi-level filing systems. Everything you learned from these apply with the managing your hard disk properly. Chapter covered the additional tasks that organizing directories file with a hard disk, managing a large number of files. In most ways, we treat the hard disk as if it were a large floppy disk. Use the MS-DOS directly command with the create with the change with the remove the directories and the MS-DOS file with the command with the copy with the erase remain. Otherwise, your file with the volume label commands describe Chapter 6. Managing your floppy disk can also be used with the hard disk, but two commands disk copy the disk comparison don't work with hard disk because they are designed to work only with the entire floppy disk. Chapter suggests some of the guidelines simple for the job managing hard disk that show how to set up the file system control archive attributed with the file was the attributed command with the copies file with the selected with the replace with the X copied commands. If you're running MS-DOS version 6, you can increase the capacity efficiency of your hard disk by with a double space MS-DOS version 6.0 and 6.2, drive space MS-DOS version 6.22, defrag programs, and you have the version 6.2 later with this program called scan disk to check with the correct disk errors. See the section later in the chapter named checking the disk for the errors for more information about the scan disk. Putting application programs on your hard disk. When you set up the directory structure, you have the copy of the command data file of the application program hard disk with the most application programs installed themselves with the subdirectory for the hard disk. Other disks include the installation or setup program, leaving it to create the subdirectory for the copies of the files. You shouldn't put all your programs in the root directory or in a single large program directory. If you will have difficulty trying to tell one program from another. You end up with such disorganization. You would have to be tossed. You would toss all your program floppy disks into one big drawer. Remember too, the MS-DOS itself with a collection with command program files like the application program MS-DOS file that can be stored a variety of places on your hard disk, including root directory version 4. Later, in fact, install themselves into the DOS subdirectory. Some of the reason the MS-DOS file with the root directory. You should move them to subdirectory with the name DOS so that they are easily found. Wouldn't clutter up either root directory display with instructions doing in their appendix A installing MS-DOS. Preparing example. The example of the chapter rely with the information presented with the preceding chapter. The tree of file with the U of the directory structure of the file created herein. That have the complete with these examples. The two with the continuing. Sample chapter requires the sample the subdirectories file shown in figure 9.1. With the next page, you will create with the hard disk subdirectory named the run DOS. You will keep the example of one piece, one place for easy removal. Show the run DOS market and run DOS market WordPress run DOS market budget. In your system prompt doesn't show the current directory chain with the abbreviated version with the current directory prompt. You for the last chapter of the type the following C-prompt money sign P / money sign G enter. Now your system prompt show with both of the current drive of the current directory will help you create keep track of your directory structure of the create with the run DOS subdirectory tab of the make directory / run DOS. Now change the directory run DOS to the typing change directory run DOS. Copy the file with a hard disk. Menu for the preparation depends on the version MS-DOS. Review if you have version 3.2 or later file with the instructions. Have the copying file with the C copy of the command. If you have version MS-DOS prior 3.2 file with the instructions. Under heading copy file with the copy command, and we're going to skip that. Copy files command. If you're using the MS-DOS version 3.2, put the floppy disk containing the sample file with the drive A with the following command with the duplicate with the part of the file with the disk directory structure with the hard disk. Run DOS make directory MKT MW market word processing market budget. Then type the following copy of the file with the disk of the hard file. Run DOS copy A drive market account market. And then it will go C drive, copy the A drive, market, workplace, wildcard, asterisk, wildcards, marketplace, word processing, and gives all of the files. The completion is penetration. Completes the preparation. Or change an attributed file with the directory. The attributed command will let you control of the following attributed file with the directory read only hidden archive within system. Use the attributed command with the control of the access file with the group of the file with the read only with the hidden attributed control that the file has. Read only attributed. You can review the content of the file, but you can't change it if it has the hidden attributed file. The file is hidden from view and you won't be able to see it listed. When you use the directory command, the hidden attributed particularly useful to the directory, but because it can be help reducing screen color and mitigating hide directory with the directory listing, because it can help you hide directories and files that contain the casual view. If you're using version 3.2 later, version MS-DOS, you can also use the attributed command to control the attributed archives the attributed of the file with the MS-DOS, any other program that checks it. Where the file has been changed since the last time you backed it up to archival storage. And when another attributed system attributed you to tell MS-DOS to treat the file as a system program. If you have the version 5 or later, you can use the system attributed normally use the program. Chapter describe the attributed command in more detail. Show with examples of the use of the command, also showing the parameters attributed plus the R minus R plus A minus H plus H minus H plus S minus H. File name parameter S R positive R is read only. Attributed R is negative R is R turns it off. A turns on archive attributive, sometimes called archive bit. A negative A turns it off. Positive H turns the hidden attribute. Negative A turns it off. If you have version 5 or later, you can use hidden attribute. Positive S turns the system attribute off. Negative S turns it off. If you have the version 5 or later, you can use the system attributed. File name, the driver of the path, the name of the file with the directory, attribute to air to be chain with the display, if you give the wildcard character, specify the group of the file with the version 5 or later, you can omit with the file name, view with the chain with the attribute with all files of the current directory, if the omitting of the file name parameter version 5 or later is the same as the name specified in the file name as wildcard. Parameter S version 3.3 or later apply with the attributed command that every file with the subdirectory contained with the file name specify with the file name root directory with the diff include with the parameter S attributed command will apply with the H every file with every subdirectory with this disk throughout the version 4 with if you may over the parameters except for the file name MS with the display with the names of the file proceeds by A if the file with the archive attributed with the R if the file is read only and both if both attributed is set with the version 5 or later. Omitting all the parameters of the file with the name show for the call of the MS-DOS display with the name of all of the files and with the current directory proceed with the file names for the A and R or archive and read only with the DOS earlier versions and uses H and S and indicate hidden and system attributes. Sample changing archive attributed with the archive attributed file with the directory, the entry with the display with the directory command with the computer exchange. Examine and change by MS-DOS with another program. Check the attributed command with the X copy the command with the described later chapter the end of the heading. Using the S copy command, some of the programs back up the file with the hard disk archive attributed some of the MS-DOS whenever the file with the create with the chain with the become the archive attributed with the MS-DOS another program whether the file has been changed since the last time if ever was backed up for the principal with the X copy the other program determine the file was backed up. The complete with the examples of the following page chain with the current directory with the run DOS marketplace word processing. Subdirectory by the typing this run DOS change directory marketplace word processing first place step check the attributed file with the current directory type the following command with the make the have the version or layer of the run DOS market WordPress that's attributed the type of this command if you have earlier version of run DOS market WordPress is attributed wildcard MS-DOS respond with a display like the following. MS-DOS display with the name of the file, each of the following A column with the 3 big of the files have never been backed up. Turn off the archive with the attributed file with the extension doc. Check with the result with the type of the following. In this following example, you can omit with the wildcard extension. If you're using the version 5 or later, run DOS marketplace workplace attributed. Turn off the archive doc, and then it shows the attributed of the wildcard, and it shows the which ones are the A Not only if the files were easy extension of the system having archived attributed, if you're using 3.3 or later version MS-DOS, give you the S parameter to apply with the attributed command all file with the subdirectory, turn off the archive attributed with all file with the directory, the run dash market with the run dash market of word profit and run dash market of word budget. Check with the result of the three, the type of the following command chain with the directory, the run dash market, turn off the archive attributed with all files in the subdirectory. Check with the attributed with all file with the subdirectories. Run dash work with the change directory to dot dot and run dash market is attributed with the turn off archive or A negative A and then wildcard dot wildcard with extension parameter S run dash market attributed with the wildcard dot and wildcard extension parameter S and show the directory listing. Respond with the second attributed to the command show with the turn off the archive with the attributed file with the run dash market workplace run dash market budget run dash marketplace. If you don't have version 5 or later, file with the command turn on with the archive with the attributed file with the subdirectory with the run dash marketplace with example later in this chapter. Assume the attributed with the turn on. C drive run dash marketplace attributed with the turn on archive the wildcard parameter S. Now go on the head copying selecting files. If you don't have version 5 or later, example to give you practice how the files attributed. Example to changing the other attributes. As already mentioned, the hidden attributed can be used to minimize screen clutter and to some extent the hiding file with the directory with the casual view because of the experience view with the MS-DOS with know-how with the strip with the hidden view with the directory with the however the consider the attributed with know-how with the convenience of the security measure. Supply chain with the hidden strip with the both the directory with the files begin with the hitting of the run DOS marketplace budget directory type. Run DOS marketplace attributed with the turn on hidden archive for budget. Now tell MS-DOS to show the run DOS all subdirectories pausing after such screen would be run DOS marketplace directory / run DOS parameter S and P. MS-DOS list for the run DOS market by work prep processor and on file with the containment with the does not list for the budget directory and with the file side with the parameter A directory for the main MS-DOS with the hidden file with the directory the run DOS and subdirectories market the directory run DOS A archive hidden parameter S and then show the MS-DOS display with the directory with the market and check with the attributed run DOS market budget the run DOS marketplace attributed budget shows you that it is hidden. And next, see how the hidden files differ from the hidden directory. Remove the hidden attributed from run DOS budget. Run DOS market attributed turn off hidden budget. And reduce the typing of the chain with the run DOS market with the directory with the run DOS change directory budget. Now apply hidden attributed with 3 file with the directory the run DOS market budget attributed hidden directory the wildcard XLS, the type of the directory run DOS of the S and P parameters. Again, display with the run DOS and all of the subdirectory at the time of the MS-DOS with the run DOS market and budget with the notice for the directory doesn't seem to contain any file with the remove the hidden attributed from the directory. So the MS-DOS have no trouble to include within listing with the hidden attributed file with the directory. So with the now MS-DOS review the report, the content of the directory, even in the display of the directory. MS-DOS does not show the hidden file with the run DOS market with the budget in the directory, and now it won't show the hidden file. The check with the attributed file with the directory with the MS-DOS respond run DOS market price attributed. Attributes wildcard XLS and it will show you the hiddens. While the files are hidden, you can't change the other attributes. For example, suppose you decide to make the file with read only. Try typing in run DOS marketplace attributed read on XLS. MS-DOS refuses to reset the hidden file. You can now, however, change other attributes if you specify the hidden attribute make that both of the read only with a hidden attribute command, which would be run DOS marketplace directory attributed read only plus hidden wildcard XLS. Change the run DOS to hidden and read only. MS-DOS reports file now are both hidden and read only. To return the run DOS subdirectory of the original state, first remove the hidden read only attributed for the run DOS market budget attributed read only hidden only wildcard XLS. Now change the kernel of the directory of the run DOS marketplace with the turn on the attributed archive with all 5 of the run DOS marketplace all subdirectories, and you change the market subdirectory, and then all files would be double dot run DOS attributed to the archive the wildcard and wildcard extension and parameter S. Copying selected files. In earlier chapters, you can see that the copy file with a similar name and extension file with the U of the copy with the command wildcard character U of the 3.2 with the later version of MS-U with the more flexibility with the copying files. The replace command lets you replace all the files in subdirectory with the target with the diff, the same name of the file with the disk, with the source of the disk. So the replace with the command also lets you copy the file with the source of the diff that doesn't exist with the target disk with the target directory beginning with the version 4. The replace command also lets you update the file with the replace only those with the target disk and older than those with the same with the new source disk. The xcopy command you saw with the preparing with the chapter example lets you copy the whole subdirectory files in them. It also lets you copy only the file with the have changed some with the last backed up with the last or those that have changed some with a particular date, replacing the files on the disk. Replace command with a copy command, copy the file with the one of the disk directory with another the replace command, however it is more select with the U of the parameter A and U. Replace with the command copy to only store with the file that exists with the target, replace with the files, hence the name as U within parameter A. Let's reverse the operation, replace with the command until the copy only store with it doesn't exist with the target, with the options only adds files. If the U the U parameter replace with the command lets the copy only store with the file with the newer file with the same name of the target, the option updates the file with the replace with the command with the 8 parameters. Replace source and target with parameter A, S, R, and P, and U, and W. The source of the name of the file will be copied. U for the wildcard character to replace with a set file with a similar file name. The extension target specified with the source to be copied that you can include with the driver letter and path name. Parameter A is add to copy the file source that does not exist for the target that lets for the add to the file's target without replacing already existing exists. Files exist. If you don't have a parameter A, only specify with the source that also exists in the target are copied. If you specify parameter A, you cannot specify parameter S and U. Parameter S apply with the replace the command with the subdirectory contained with the target. If you specify the target and the root directory with the disk command with apply with each of every subdirectory on the disk, and then specify with the parameter S, you cannot specify parameter A. Parameter R replace the file with the target that are read only in addition to those that are normally replaced. P and parameter P provides the confirmation of replacing and adds each of the file and parameter U updates replace only the file with the target disk older than the corresponding file with the source disk. The parameter U cannot specify parameter A. And parameter W prompts you with press the key with the replacement command begins to let you put in the correct floppy disk before starting replacing add files. See how the replace commands copy the file letter 1 document from the run DOS marketplace workplace subdirectory to run marketplace budget subdirectory. Then check with the directory by typing this. Run DOS marketplace copy the word processing backslash let 1 doc budget and file copied. See run DOS marketplace directory, budget, volume, and ensure the marketplace and the directory for the run DOS market budget. Now you will replace the command with the source of the target parameters. Replace with every file with the directory run DOS market budget. The name of the LET with the extent of the doc with the exist the run DOS market word processing type. C run DOS market replace word processing with LET wildcard doc budget, and then it replaces the files. Replace command a copy on the file with the 1 copy at the beginning with the example that already exists in the run DOS marketplace budget subdirectory. The message tells you that the MDOS replace with 1 existing file. Now type the replace command button the time to close the parameter A, with which tells the MSS to copy only the file that do not exist in the target. You do the opposite with when you did replace command run DOS market replace word processing LET file name wildcard doc budget parameter A, and then it adds to the LET1 and LT3 to the marketplace budget subdirectory on drive C. The time replaced with the command copy to the file that didn't copy the previous example. The message tells you with the MS-DOS have with the file with the target with the finally with the have version 4 MS-DOS can update the files begin with the create with the new version LET1 doc directly with the run DOS market word processing. You have version 6.2 later with the MS-DOS. You will be asked whether you want to replace with the existing file. Answer yes or here later example with the chapter of the run DOS marketplace copy the word processing LET1 document. This form newer files control shift or control Z. No, it's shift Z. One's files copied. Now you have the version of the run DOS market budget with the new version of the same file with the run DOS market word processing. Update all files budget subdirectory for the type of the run DOS marketplace. Replace word processing LET wildcard document budget parameter U. MS-DOS replace with the C run-DOS budget LE12 doc file will replace MS-DOS compared with a matching file with the name let it updated only with the LET1 doc that had this time of the more recent version of the sub source track within the targeted directory. Alright, using the xcopy command and preparing the chapter that use the xcopy command to move the entire directory structure of one disk to another. The corresponding subdirectory does not exist for the untargeted directory. The xcopy command creates them. Use the unlike copy to replace with the xcopy to include the ability to copy only files whose archive attributed is on and files that have been changed over the day that you specify. The xcopy command has 10 main parameters. Xcopy source target parameter AMD and colon date and proper parameter E, P, S, V, and W. The source of the name of the file will be copied to include the path of the name. You can use the wildcard to copy the sub-file, similar file names and extension. Target specify the source to be copied. You can include with the combination. Drive the letter path name, file name, specify different derive the target directory that allow with the same name source directory. And parameter A copies only the file with the archive attributed with the on and leave the archive attributed with the source unchanged. Archived M copies only those files with the archive attributed with on or turns off the archive attributed with the source that tells MS-DOS that any other program that has been changed since they last backed up there does not need to be backed up again. Alright, parameter D or date, copy the created and changed with the on or after date, the date creation of the last change with the shown with the directory entry of the any of the file, enter the date just as they would with the date command. Parameter E creates a subdirectory within the target, even if the empty source of the parameter can be used with the parameter S. Use the parameter P. Prompt the confirmation for each of the specified in the sources. Copy the parameter S. Applies xcopy command in all subdirectories containing the source that are not empty. If the specify the source of the root directory of the disk, the xcopy command is applied to every non-empty subdirectory on the disk. Parameter V verifies the copy of the target was stored correctly, but it can slow the operation of Z copy command somewhat with a good assurance that you have the copy critical, but the data must be certain with the copied correctly. Parameter W prompt with the press of the key before the Z copy command begins. This will give you a chance to put with the correct floppy disk before starting the copy of the files. Be aware that MS-DOS version 6.0 with the Z copy does not copy the file with a hidden or system attributed to chain with the however the version 5 that earlier handled such file in the file to have the Z copy of the copy of the file with the first use of the attributed command with the turn off the hidden system attributed form X copying after the the attributed command set with the one or more of both they attributed back on. For example, you can create a temporary subdirectory named Fred in the root directory. Display with the end of the example the first chain with the current directory with the C run DOS market subdirectory change directory all files. Note the type of filing. Make directory commands Fred. MD-/Fred. Add sample file you want on top of the next page of the run DOS. Copy the console test doc to this test file with the shift Z. The file with the run DOS subdirectory that are attributed with the turn on for the first xcopy command. The parameter A to copy all the files with the run DOS with the extent of the doc with whose attributed is turned on would be xcopy with this wildcard document extension /Fred attributed to A. MS respond with a display with the name of each of the source copy, the reading source with the test document, one file copied. MS-DOS copy the test document only with the run DOS whose extension of the doc, verify with this display with the directory of Fred, run DOS directory of Fred, and then show the directory with the show the test document. Now type the S copy with the command with the parameter S parameter to apply with the copy of all the files extension of the doc whose archive attributed that return on not only run DOS but also with the subdirectories. You type C run DOS X copy wildcard all the extension documentation and subdirectory Fred A and S reading source and testing, and it would copy all those over 10 files copied. The time the MS-DOS copy the 10 files that copy the subdirectories name, the market, word processing, and market budget. Verify on the display with the directory Fred market, run DOS directory Fred market, and then it would show what was shown in the market word processing file, and the copy of the command created with the subdirectory word processing budget Fred subdirectory Fred copy of the file with extension of the docs whose archives attributed with the form of the run DOS marketed word processing directory to Fred market word processing from the run DOS market budget directly to the Fred market budgeting value archive attributed. However, they can tell you what files changed since they would last backed up. Archived attributed turned off the file backed up turned up When the file is changed, the parameter M is in the like of the parameter A. Tell the X copy to only of the file that archive attribute is on, but also turn the archive attribute off on the source so that they can mark the file with the backup. Type in another X copy command with the file with extension of the doc, but this time the parameter M instead. Run DOS X copy some wildcard extension doc. Created subdirectory parameters M and S. MS-DOS responds just as it did for the xpop command, a copy of the same 10 files, but turned their archives attribute to off. It is easy to check this. Retype the last X command. Run X copy wildcard subject thread parameters M and S. There's no file with a copy because of the previous command. Turned off the archive attributed to the file. Now suppose you change on one of those files with the new archive attributed on, just as if it were existing change with an MS-DOS editor with the word processor. For the type of create with a different version, run DOS tech doc. C, run DOS copy console test documentation, new version test doc. Shift Z, file copy the type of the system name, copy the command, the type twice before. First time X copy 10 file, for the second time no copy. This time should copy one file. Run DOS copy wildcard dot extension subdirectory S parameters M and S. Show the test copy doc copied. X copy the only file. Server the files archives were on. When you view the run DOS directory structure later captures having the version at 6 of the M-DOS type of the filing command to dispose of the directory add for those example. C drop run DOS delete tree subdirect Fred. Deleting the subdirectory Fred and all subdirectories, yes or no. Deleting Fred. If you have an earlier version, type the following command: C run DOS delete subdirectory file Fred marketplace workplace wildcard doc, and then also I forgot what read does, what RD is, but it will delete and then redirection. New change to the current directory of the run DOS market with the done DOS change the directory marketplace. Final cleanup of the run DOS market with the directory of the run DOS market delete and budget letter wildcard doc. Alright, stretching your hard disk. A hard disk is fast, durable, hold a lot more than floppy disk generally does the job with little attention from you. One drawback for the hard disk is little garage kitchen drawers tend to fill up more quickly than one would expect it would like. When using a hard disk, quickly, easily alternate the problem. The delete file was no longer needed. The archive file might need at some point in the future. This housekeeping and time consuming. You should periodically make sure that you do not lose track of the important files. Walter, other files that inevitable accumulate for long solutions that you can take of the problem that either the hardware side or the software side. And hardware side, you can buy a larger hard disk, transfer the file to it, and buy another hard disk and then add it to your system. But both are fairly expensive. The proposition transfer your file with a new hard disk can take quite a while to solve the solution. The simpler, more appealing. Use mathematical techniques, programs to reduce the number to byte of the compress the file while losing information without losing any of the information in the file. Starting version 6.0, MS-DOS includes hard disk compression program. MS-DOS 6.0 and 6.2 now with known as the double space. When in 6.2, it's called the driver space compression program. Compresses all the files into the hard disk. If you have version 6.2.1, go on and heading checking the disk errors. However, if you have version 5, go on and heading the MS-DOS your hard disk. Although the files in your disk are compressed, and the only difference you see with the disk of the more available space for the MS-DOS compressing behind the scene with the right with the file with the disk, the MS-DOS automatically compress the read. File MS-DOS expand with the returning file with the original state with the example when you with the MS-DOS editor read file with the MS-DOS expands the file so that you can read it. It's concept with the notice for the view with the directory command. Command to set the list with the directory with the compressed disk. The MS-DOS is split with the file with the expand with the side with the end over the copy of the compressed disk. The uncompressed file of the MS-DOS will expand the file before copying it. So we're going to move on to checking disk, just checking disk for errors when we get to the although files on your disk are private, the only difference you can see with the disk is a lot more available space with the MS-DOS with the compressed behind the scene. But when you write the file with the MS-DOS, someone automatically compresses it. Read with the MS-DOS expand with the return of the file with the original state. With example, you with the MS-DOS edit the read the file MS-DOS expand the file so you can edit read the file with the notes that when you with the directory command see with the list of the file with the directory on your compressed disk, the MS-DOS split with the file's expand size. If you copy the file with the compressed disk, the uncompressed floppy disk, the MS-DOS will expand the file before copying it. Compressing it isn't free space, the drive space. Double space is indeed with the make of the disk seemed twice as large as it was before, although the physical capacity of the disk does not change. Compressing the file lets the disk hold with about twice as much. Nothing of the course of the price paid with the double the capacity of the hard disk with as much as 50 kilobyte with the memory with the compression program, record the compression program, the drive speed with the double speed will always use the running of that compressor on our own disk for the MS.dot compressor expand file with the read written with the disk with the links for the memory magnet capability with the management capabilities of MS.dot server that you can run with the compression program upper memory that can minimize the effectively up using up a lot of memory. In fact, the RAM running MS-DOS version 6.2 or later the DOS equals high in configuration system. MS-DOS will attempt to load part of the compression program into the high memory area during the startup process, compressing your hard disk. And then we're going to see where's it? Alright, compressing your hard disk. The brain or section of the driver space for the compression program into the MS-DOS 6.2 double space with command double space DBLSPSY system device driver with exactly the same switch for the parameter that you with the drive space with command the drive space system device driver the switch for the parameter the version 6.1 with the double space command with the double space with the system the device driver is slightly different and with all version only help with this huge collection of relevant information. Compress your hard drive with the drive space with the setup of the program with the drive with the DRVI space with the add with the system prompt with the drive space with the display with the opening setup screen lets you choose with the continuing learning about more drive space setup or quit press enter with the continue with the next screen tells you the enter with the drive space make most of the decision upon with the setup the express setup to make the decision for the custom setup. Press enter for the accept the compressed setup. Next screen will give you the chain with the turn back of the drive space over the compressing with your disk. Press C to start the process. Drive space setting of the program. First, so scan this program. Make sure the hard disk is free of the errors. You read more about the scan display with the chapter under the heading with the task of checking the disk for the setup program. Examine the system. The reach of the computer. The next drive space. The defragment. The compresses. The files are going to be on your hard drive. With express setup, assumes that drive C with it might take a long time. Larger with the disk, the longer will take with the drive space. You'll let you know how much time they estimate the process you will take. During the compression, grab the drive space, display with the name with the file with the complete currently compressing. While the finish for the compressing the drive space, restart the system, complete the process. After your system restart, everything should work with just as it did before normal. You with the only difference is a lot more room with a hard disk. A bit of checking though to reveal the extra disk and drive there wasn't before. For example, if you had no drive beyond drive C, now you have the drive H2. But the computer might use another letter such as I. But it added a hard disk drive. Of course, how can you add another drive disk? Drive space responsible for magic drive space. Create the file called the compressed volume file with the C or CVF. Which acts as drive C for the compressed file drive. The drive H for the uncompressed drive, the host drive contained with the compressed volume H file. Drive H also stores hidden system file with the MSIC with the written when starting the machine and any other file that do not want to compress the driver space with the window permanent swap that file with the drive. Then when being compressed, the driver space will move the like file with the uncompressed drive with the B by default with the drive space with the 2 megabyte with the drive space 3 with the drive H. Copy the 5 drive H only if you want them to compress. Hard compressing a floppy disk, you with the drive the space with the compressed high density floppy disk, shove the compressed the hard disk, then shove the floppy disk and drive A type of the drive's DRV space. This time you see with the drive space main screen will show with you the drive C is compressed drive. The bar over the top of the main screen will contain the form menu with the drive compressed tool to help the menu to contain the command with the drive space form actions. Discuss the menu with the Alt key with the first level of the menu's name. And if you have the mouse, then you can access the menu positioning the mouse pointer over the menu name. Pressing the left mouse button, properties, compress the floppy disk. First open the compress menu without pressing Alt, and then C, and then choosing the existing drive command in the menu, and then entering. You can access the other command in the menu, pressing down arrow key until the command is highlighted. Drive space check to see whether the drives are compressed, and it tells you which ones found. Chance of your list includes the drive A. But if you have another hard disk that does not compress you for the divine RAM disk, you must include more than one drive letter using arrow keys. If necessary, highlight with the line A drive, then press enter. Another drive space, give it a chain with the chain with the mind, press E with the start with the compressing with the floppy disk, drive A with the drive space, tell with approximately how long process it will take with the start compressing, which finish with the display with the lift of compressed drive again, the time added drive the A to identify cloud compressed floppy disk. Now your floppy disk is nearly twice as much as space available that did it before. If it had been for compressed drive, that you will see the files are still available as you compress your hard drive of your system and another disk drive G. Disk space G with the uncompressed drive to maintain the file of the disk because it does not contain free space with the disk drive G. It isn't much use of strong storing uncompressed files. If you need the uncompressed file with the disk, simply use the uncompressed disk. Note, you can use the dry paste compressed file with the floppy disk on the machine that are running disk drive. If you want to have the transfer of the by computer, if it isn't drive space, but to be sure the copy of the file with the uncompressed floppy disk as the MS-DOS doesn't allow you to use format command to format compressed disk. Instead, use the format parameter with the drive space command. For example, when you type this, C drive space format drive A. Drive space reformats compressed drive disk drive A and deletes all files but keeps the information, makes it compressed. Mounting, unmounting a drive. Our drive space automatically recognizes the mounts the compressed floppy disk unless you choose to turn it off automatically mounting. When you first compromise the floppy disk drive space is available the MS-DOS for you. The profit of the drive space that calls mounting of the disk. Process made with the disk unavailable. The MS-DOS is unmounted. With the term mounting, with the unmounting seems odd. There are names that survive the thing with the early state of the computing long before personal computers were imagined. Think about how the computers usually pictured and moved with a cartoon with a refrigerator like a planet with a two large round device with a eye level machine tape drive. Usually early mainframe computers, most data storage based disk drives were enormously expensive to run devices or supply and take up a reel with a magnetic tape with an active loading reeling tape with the tape drive was and still in. It is called mounting the tape that you can see with the drive space. You can determine a bit differently, but the hard disk should remain mounted at all times. In fact, the drive space won't let you mount the drive. Which drive the MS-DOS to mount with the compressed floppy disk with the main drive space screen. Figure 19 is for the floppy disk. The drive A example. Choose the mount with a command from the drive menu. The play and press Alt D for the open menu. Press the down arrow, then 3 times press the enter. Drive space search for the unmounted compressed drives and display the ones it finds and shows shown in tier. In addition, for the name of the uncompressed drive with the drive space list for the name of the compressed volume file, which of the file with the disk with the name of the compressed drive with the next up with the down arrow key, select with the compressed disk you want to mount. For example, select with the A drive, the drive space .000 drive space mount with the floppy disk and update with the list compressed the drive with the main drive space screen. Quit drive space by choosing the exit with the drive menu. The complete compressed floppy disk remains mounted. Mount with the compressed floppy disk system provenance for the floppy disk and the drive with the drive space mount / mount with the letter with the drive with the floppy disk for is in, for example, if you use the drive A, type this, drive space / mount, egg drive A. Drive space is messages telling you the mount of the drive and then it has mounted the drive successfully, although the means of the bit with the more effort with the compressed floppy disk drive space is nonetheless virtually cost-free way to double the storage capacity of all the disks you use. Use drive space further manage your compressed drive that you can change the size, create a new drive with a free disk space with review information about all the drive, the more the appendix MS-DOS command reference online help. For the online help, the driver space with the MS-DOS user guide for more information. Removing drive space. If you decided you wanted to stop using the file compression return with the normal capacity of the hard disk, you use the uncompressor parameter with the drive space with the command. The process takes about the same amount of time that it took to compress the disk. The uncompressed can work only with enough of the free space with the uncompressed the drive with the whole with all the free file with the compressed drive that has the decompressed you with the need to delete some of the unnecessary copy certain file with the wish to keep the nub of the hard drive floppy in order to get the side of the uncompressed file fit on the uncompressed drive of the last mount of the drive with the uncompressed the drive space will remove the install with the memory. If you're not familiar with the MS-DOS, you probably get some existence. More experience you have before delete you delete drive space when you uncompress the drive of the host drive. Letters should no longer be valid unless you multiply with the compressed drive with the same host drive, which will cover the problems. But the aim of the program have the set up the explicit path names in the drive of the letters referring to the non-deleted host drive. If your hard disk was less than a half full with the install of the drive space, you have installed a lot of new file with the compressed disk. Then you could probably use the drive space with the reduced amount of the available space with the compressed disk, and increase the amount of the uncompressed space with the delete the decrease the amount of the compressed space with the you start with the drive space with the typing DRV space, change the chain size of the drive menu with the drive space display with the dialog box showing the current minimum and the maximum value of the volume drive space .000 or both the uncompressed drive with the compressor drive with the probable drive C with the cursor is the infield with the label of the new side with which contain the same value with the current size field of the drive space .000, which value is bigger or larger than the minimum side field of the drive space 00 by pressing enter. Drive space tells you the changing side of the drive with the sheet that tells you the remounting the drive C by reducing the side of the compressed drive with the side of the uncompressed drive with the increase to provide more space for the uncompressing files. If you don't have enough space with the hard disk, hold the uncompression versions of the file that we want to save with you, hold them back on the floppy disk. Another hard disk, you have the MS backup with the X copy. You have backed for them up the delete with the compressed volume file with a problem. probably named drive space.000 from the host drive. Remember this restore these backup file with after drive space has been completely removed from the file. The note you must delete the device command with the drive space put with the configuration system, and this file is the created with the root directory. You can use the edit delete with the line configuration system. That read the device equal to cdos drive space system slash / move. Line might read the device high equals instead of the device v equals. The command might include some parameters such as L /L colon 2 5 comma 52272 before you can delete drive space file with the root directory of the drive C. You have to then make the files accessible with the attributive command. Attributive turn off S, H, R, and C. S, H, and R. Drive C drive space. Then delete them with the delete command. Delete C drive space. Press Alt Delete delete to restart the system. The directory command sees how many bytes are available on the disk. Your disk should be back up in its uncompressed size. Alright, checking a disk for errors. We just messed up. Alright, checking your disk for errors. Starting with the version 6.2 of the MS app, the coup of the program with the scan diff that does more with the through, with the job of the correction of the disk, or the error of the check disk. Command earlier version both of the disk compression program, the scan disk, maybe the sure of the file of the disk can be safely compressed. The check disk command still with the delivered as part of the MS app, but should be the scan disk around with you. They're unchecked with your disk compressed and uncompressed. Size, scan disk, check with both the directory structure, the information file with disk, the structure of the disk itself in error, and in most cases, the scan disk correct with the structure error, therefore recognizing lost data of the move file from the error of the disk, surface the damage of the undamaged location. You also use the scan disk to check with the compressed volume of the container of the file store with the disk, compressed, the drive space, double space. Like some of the MRS and MS-DOS problems of the MS backup, the drive space, the scan disk displays its own dot menu with the dialog box selection. You choose your options either with a keyboard or a mouse. You can specify with the scan disk option the command parameters, but the method of the scan disk is most or less convenient. Include primarily to let your program run a batch file would like to be due with the MS-DOS online help contain with a complete description of all of the parameters. Type of the help scan disk from this for this information. Command start scan disk has one parameter, scan disk dot in the drive. The drive is laid with the file by command over the drive to be checked and does not specify the MSD check for the current drive. So you'd have scan disk and then the drive that you want to scan. Start the scan disk with typing scan disk to play with the opening screen at the beginning with the check of the disk. This tells you the error of the disk scan is being checked. The process just takes a few minutes. The scan disk takes the error of the file structure that displays dialog box position problem file and lets you save the questionable data within the file with the root directory. Just the check disk command does delete the data, ignore it, leave it in the disk unchanged unless you are missing data. Choose to delete the option. If you delete the data with the scan disk display with another dialog box with the title with the created to undo with the disk, they give the option. I'll have the scan disk create with the file with the floppy disk, one that you can later use to reverse the step that the scan disk takes and delete the unwanted data with the reshuffle the disk to the previous condition. This only works if you undisk before making any other change to the disk. However, if you truly undo with the deletion after the change of the disk, the scan disk won't be able to reconstruct the data and maybe damage the data structure. Critically, a lot of the important files cover the list of the least of the bit of the activity can cause the one or two files change with this disk. You probably shouldn't create it. You probably shouldn't create an undo disk. When scanning finishing checking on the file structure on the disk, it asks you whether you want to check the surface of the disk for defects, although the elements of the display with the overall pessimistic process can be still take several minutes for now, and for now chose no. Return to the system prompt. You should, however, use the scan disk to check the surface of the disk every couple months to correct any problem that might develop before you cause the loss of available data. Alright, storing your files efficiently on disk. As described in Chapter 6, manage your floppy disk file with the disk can be made with a fragment, stored with two more chunks with a different part of the disk. As you work with them, leaving the unspaced scattered around the disk, they can slow down your systems, especially if many of the files fragmented because of the take for the MS files longer to read and write. Files that aren't stored neatly in one place, you could experience a significant slowdown if all they were able to speak with the one disk was broken up into many small unused areas requiring MS-DOS to break up every file that you work with. If you have the version 6, you can use the MS-DOS refrag program to pack all the files on the disk into one compact area, which each file is stored in one location. Defrag lets you choose your option from the menu. Start with the type of the DE frag, and after displaying the copyright note, the defrag program tells you the testing system memory that then display with the opening screen. Most likely, defrag will have the highlighted line containing C drive, suggesting they optimize reorganize the files onto the drive C. But it did press enter. If not, use the arrow key with the highlight C drive, and then press enter. If pressing using the mouse, you double click on the C drive to choose the defrag, read the file on the disk, and then display with the box top with the recommendation for the suggested that you optimize only the file to do a full optimization. Move directories to it necessary, possible, and optimize it all. Map with the defragmented disk. Regardless of the recommendation, display with the dialog box with the main part of the screen show the map of the how the escape space of the disk is used. Each rectangle represents a portion of your diff. The match legend for the lower right corner. I'll use the area that appear with the white. Unused areas appear in shaded. So if you see any large white area that contains smaller shaded areas, you're probably looking at a fragmented disk. If your disk isn't badly fragmented, efrag might be recommended to optimize only file. But doing so will leave a few unused areas of the disk to be gained the maximum benefit of the packing file. But then see how full optimization works. You request a full optimization. This isn't necessary though. In most cases, the defrag recommends that you optimize only file. Doing so will be sufficient. Defrag recommends full optimization and press enter, then go into the next paragraph. Here, if defrag does not recommend full optimization, press escape to clear the recommended command box. With defrag immediately displays for the optimization menu. Press the down arrow key twice, then press enter for the 2 for the optimization method. Now the defrag display with the box title, select the optimization method. If the full optimization selected, press enter, then defrag display with the optimization menu again. Then beginning optimization by pressing up arrow twice. Now optimization process begin with the defrag reorganizing all files of the disk in order the backing with them together. Display with lowercase r of them replace with the white rectangle when it's reading a portion of the file to be moved. The uppercase W when it writes the file into the new location. As watch for any of the gray areas surrounded by the white on the map should be disappearing. Start at the beginning of the disk over the upper left of the map. The defrag display of the finish condensing with the finish for the defragging process. The process of entering the college. The message defrag display with this dialog box that offers you the choice of condensing in another drive. Configure the program or existing or exiting. Press the right arrow twice and press enter to choose the exit, or press escape to leave the defrag and return to MS-DOS. Alright, you can also use run defrag with the type of the command with the MS-DOS prompt that you with the parameter specify with the option of the form command that's shown in the appendix C with the MS-DOS command reference you with the program that routinely modifies main file every day. For example, the word prompt of the database of the program and you want your system run as quickly as possible. You can put the command defrag C drive prompt F parameter F in your auto exact batch file with the parameter F parameter specify full optimization, so the defrag will fully optimize your hard drive just every time you started your system. MS-DOS and your hard disk. Now that you're familiar with the directory of the command you to manage them, you can look over your own system, put some of the knowledge to work because the hard disk can hold so many files that it's important to create the directory structure to the left. They keep the track of the file with the programming set with the subdirectory for the master the way you the computer with the organize them by the department, application, program, people's name, any other way with the comfortable with the let you. Until you get the directory structure established over there with the file with the tendency to collapse with the root directory, making it difficult to file with an even if the reverse of the root directory with the nothing subdirectory the end file that must be there, with finding your way around your hard disk becomes much easier. I've been using your hard disk for some time and they haven't known about it or paid much attention to the idea of creating a directory structure on it. The possibility that the root of the directory of the hard disk contained with the main file that don't need to be there to be MS-DOS files. For example, MS-DOS is not subdirectory for its own program file, the data file, the perhaps files inherited the former user of the computer. Some of these files, if it is the MS-DOS command files, are essential but need not to be all in the root directory. Other such of the files inherited may not be unnecessary to work with. Still, other such application programs file with DAS files might be much easier to keep it and find track of the directory of their own. For people to certainly know book that can tell you the best way to organize your directories and file with their own root directory containing many of the files should be subdirectory of their own. Make directory copy, X-copy when you copy the file with the subdirectory. Delete commands can help you with help you out. Escaping the MS-6 provides A move command which can copy the file or delete them from the source of the location all in one operation. Ultimately, you're the best judging of your own work and your habits. But on the next page, some of the general guidelines you can follow with either side in setting up the new hard disk, the organizing one you're being used. Alright, keep your MS-DOS commands files in a subdirectory of their own. The only file with the MS-DOS require that you keep in the root directory that is called the command configuration setup and auto execute batch version 4. Later, the MS-DOS install themselves so that the files are in root directory, but all the other MS-DOS files are a separate subdirectory named /DOS. If you have the earlier version of the MS-DOS, so that's /DOS. All of the MS-DOS files that are in the root directory. Read Appendix A, installing MS-DOS to find out how to set up the move of the file with the DOS and subdirectory. Some application programs also require the file of the root directory, but the documentation that came with the program should tell you about this. So the program itself might create the necessary file when you install it. When in doubt, follow the advice given in the documentation. If your hard disk has been used by someone else or printing a listing of the root directory before you reorganize deleting the file, be particularly careful about removing any of the files extension com system execute. Remember, they are program files. If you do not know what a particular program file is supposed to do, ask someone who does know. When you install the new program, put it in a subdirectory if you can. Some of the program provided during installation proceed with it. If yours doesn't, you might still be able to put a subdirectory provided that can be installed with a hard disk that has the ability to work with the different drive of the subdirectory. Check with the program with the documentation for instruction. After the program is installed in a subdirectory, all you need to do is add the subdirectory name to the command path in order to make the program's command file available at any time. Think about data that files you create. They're generally files that take up the most room of the hard disk. They are also the one that can become the most confusing file. The names both begin to proliferate, can close the document and duplicate another. Although the book you the file name of the names letter 1, letter 2, doc. Some of the other real data file that says the names would mean little or root directory cluttered with 100 other letters. On the other hand, such names might mean a great deal in the subdirectory name for clients, projects, proposals, and the like. In short, pay attention when they organize your hard disk as you would organize a large set of files within the filing cabinet. Taking care of your hard disk. Although MS-DOS can help you to physically protect the hard disk, there are some common simple approaches you can use to derive warning. Aside of the hard disk is neither fragile nor temperamental. Many people use the same hard disk for a year without encountering any problem. In fact, considering the clove of the talents involved, the read and write heads literally float on air in tiny friction of an inch above the disk itself. The hard disk is remarkably sturdy and reliable. All it normally needs is a little help from you. You might follow these practices. For example, don't turn off your system. Don't turn your system off on repeatedly during the day. Leaving the system on minimizes the wear of the mechanical parts on your hard disk. Do not turn the system off while the hard disk is active. By the same token, avoid the bumping, joisting the system at those times. 2. You help preserve the both disk and data. Keep systems running reasonably clean. You don't have to sterilize anything. Just clean and relatively dust-free will do. Save your work and turn off your system during storms. Any other times when the power is likely to surge or be interrupted, unexpected loss of electricity. Sun surge excess power can cause problems, especially if the computer is reading from or writing to the hard disk at a time. If you have one extra memory on your system, consider using some of that as the RAM disk. Not only will you reduce the stress on the hard disk, but you can find the file excess becomes noticeable quicker. Shut the system down before moving it. Don't worry about sliding it across with your desk, but don't be careful not to drop it and bang it on walls or furniture. Barring equipment failure, about all to keep your hard disk running smoothly are little common sense and the same type of care that you give to your VCR stereo system. And then it gives in the chapter summary. Chapter showed you how to set up the filing system, the control of the archive, the tribute with the copy to select, with the replay with the X-copy command, the show with the how to use the drive speed with the double speed with the refrag programs, let you improve the capacity with the efficiency of your hard disk, how you use the scan disk can help you use the with the core and correct the risk errors. Because you can see the easy takeaway with the hard disk for granted, but the hard disk is an essential part of your computer system. If organized your file structure to match way your work, and your hard disk lets you move the job to job, program to program with a minimum effort. Setting up the file system, doing some of the periodic housekeeping takes a bit of time, but pays off a little in letting you work more efficiently. More than any other part of the system, the hard disk determines how well your computer works for you. Chapter 10: Protecting your disk and files.